liberty, what has happened is, over time, her effigy has been used over and over again by people who have felt downtrodden, who have felt oppressed. For instance, when they had the big, overthrow in Tiananmen Square in China, the students that were revolting against the government had a huge effigy of the Statue of Liberty that they carried, carried with them in their riots.
Yeah.
Or their protests.
Yeah.
So I can say that, but I haven't researched the aspect of, did you call it Columbia?
Yeah, Columbia, the goddess Columbia. I don't know if that's the correct term, so to speak, for it, but that's what I've heard. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you about that. So, what's that? Sorry.
I'll have to look that up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It may be a new avenue to travel down.
Yeah, it might be, sure. I mean, this is, of course, regarding, the basic, when you see Columbia pictures, if you ever go to the movies, they got this, the goddess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's got the torch in her hand. And
piqued my curiosity now.
Yeah, of course. And this is, of course, related to, the torch of liberty, which, of course, has to do with libertas, so... Yeah, sure. And by the way, you mentioned, Gothic cathedrals also. I think it is in the Gothic cathedrals that there are a lot of what is referred to as Black Madonnas, right?
Oh, yeah.
What's that all about?
Okay, Black Madonnas. You find a lot of those in France, Spain, Sicily, Italy. They tend to be, and they're like in France and Germany too. They tend to be a lot around even Poland, around the Mediterranean area, but I think that's where they are predominantly. But you find a lot of them in other places in Europe as well. Now, they're different. There are different schools of thought on it. Some people say that these are images that came out of Africa, thus the skin is dark. Some say they're associated with the goddess Isis from Egypt or the goddess Artemis from Turkey, thus their skin is dark. They believe, though, that it was in these dark Madonnas, they're either black or brown, that these were different because the sacred feminine, or the goddess, was actually embodied in these statues. It was almost like the goddess was hiding in plain sight. The goddess is associated sometimes with these earthly, underground, chthonic aspects, which, are associated with the darkness of the earth, the richness of the soil, the fertility therein. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So hence, she is dark. And a lot of people don't, especially, Caucasians, they don't realize that a lot of the people from the Mediterranean area, from the Middle East area, their skin is dark. I mean, it's so silly when we see these pictures of Jesus and he has a white face. We've sort of homogenized a lot of the characters, I think, that come out of that, Middle Eastern, Mediterranean region, as if they're, they're blind and blue-eyed kind of thing, And and I'm blind and blue-eyed, but and I think as a child growing up, I didn't know that Jesus would not have had white skin. But anyway, I digress. The idea of the color of the skin. They're from, they tend to come from that region. And there were actually these Black Madonna statues that some found when they removed some of the top layers of paint, that they actually sometimes were Isis statues.
Oh, really?
So there's that part of it. Some, there's the element of it that, the goddess stayed alive, the sacred feminine stayed alive in plain sight in these statues. And these statues, to a certain extent, are a thorn in the side of the church because they know that a lot of people connect these Black Madonnas with goddess. And, the church doesn't want to, they want to suppress that.
Mm.
Also, too, most of these Madonnas and Child, you go back and it's pretty clear that Jesus sitting on Mary's lap, that iconic image, was actually borrowed, stolen, co-opted, whatever you want to say, from Isis holding Horus, her son, on her lap. It was this idea of, again, converting the pagans. Because Isis was such a powerful goddess, fledgling Christianity had a hard time dethroning her.
Yeah.
They were using an image that was familiar to the pagans and using it in a Christian image to, for familiarity, to sway them over.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the church says that the Black Madonnas have this dark skin because it's candle soot. But it's so absurd, because how could it be candle soot if it's only the hands and the face and the skin that's been dirty, and it's not the clothing or the rest of the image around it. But they're the church and they speak, so they think people have no critical thinking skills.
Yeah, exactly. Some have suggested that the Sphinx in Giza actually is a depiction of an African woman. What's your idea about that? Have you researched the Sphinx at all or looked at it?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think the face that's on it now was the original face.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so out of proportion with the rest of the body. But I haven't heard that. So I really can't comment. It would not surprise me at all to find out that the Sphinx really is probably much older than we think, based on some of those geologists who talk about water erosion.
Sure, yeah.
I hope we find out one day what the face was.
Yeah.
It's probably hidden in the Vatican vault somewhere.
Yeah, it probably is. It's very interesting to kind of get to the bottom of this and to actually find out what actually was going on down there, and of course a lot of other different places around the earth too. And you mentioned, of course, before this you talked a little bit about Gaia and Mother Earth, and do you know kind of why this is, why we have this current theme that our Earth actually is feminine in nature?
Well, I think it's because man doesn't give birth. It's just that simple. I think it's just it's just a very basic tenet that it is the female that births things, whatever it is, and the earth, which provides everything we need for sustenance.
Yeah.
I think that by association it becomes female, not male.
Yeah. In some instances, I guess the sun has been referred to as a more male deity in that sense. Do you do you agree on that?
Well, sometimes, but there are some sun goddesses. Like, for instance, Amaterasu in Japan. She's a Shinto deity, and there's still a lot of Japanese that that are Shinto in faith. I mean, just like the Mecca the Muslims have to go to Mecca once in their lifetime, the Shinto have to go to Ise in Japan to Amaterasu's incredibly gorgeous sacred compound. But she was a sun goddess, and she was believed to be the primary goddess of all the Shinto goddesses. She ruled over all the gods and goddesses of the Shinto faith. So there are sun goddesses.